And I now call on you again, Mr. Walreed, for the presentation of the 2013 St Michaels Medallions.
Thank you again, Dr. Campbell. On behalf of the Church Council, I would like to extend a warm welcome to Professor Mark Cook to present the medallions this year. Professor Cook is Chair of Medicine and Professor and Director of Neurology at St Vincent's Hospital in Melbourne, specialising in the treatment of epilepsy. This is the 21st year these awards have been made. In 1991, the proposal to make the awards was advanced by Dr. McNabb, and I quote, "We have thought of and devised many programs over the years, programs that would evoke awareness, provide information, involve debate. The general thrust has been prevention, network building, therapeutic intervention, social involvement and responsibility." The proposal was to select from the wider community one or two individuals whose contribution to society identified with the themes and causes of St Michael's. The wording on the medallions reflects this: for outstanding service to the community. The 37 representatives to date reflect quite a cross-section of areas where commitment to improving the social condition has predominated. An honour roll in the foyer of St Michael's Halls now records their names, and some past recipients are present today. I know Alex Stitt and Jenny Ching, there may be others. We welcome particularly those people. The aim was to select those who have done or are doing outstanding work that clearly identifies with the causes of prevention of violence, destructiveness or waste, or its corollary, that clearly promotes health and well-being and a better human society. It has been a privilege and a pleasure for me to again be involved in the selection process, and I'm most appreciative of the contribution of Pamela Smart, a member of the Church Council. Dr. Penelope Allen and Professor Julian Savulescu have been chosen as recipients for this year's award. I now call on Dr. Allen to come forward. Dr. Allen is a specialist surgeon at the Centre for Eye Research in Australia and led a surgical team to implant the prototype bionic eye at the Royal Victorian Eye and Ear Hospital. This was a world-first event. The bionic eye can restore a sense of vision to people living with profound vision loss. I now call on Professor Savulescu to come forward. And Professor Savulescu is Director of the Institute of Science and Ethics at the University of Oxford, Uehiro Chair in Practical Ethics, University of Oxford, and Director of the Program on Ethics and New Biosciences, also University of Oxford. A recent book, Unfit for the Future, The Need for Moral Enhancement, written by Professor Savulescu in conjunction with Ingmar Persson, poses the notion that modern technology have the capacity to improve society as much as they have to destroy it. There is a need to review how society, through the benefits of scientific knowledge, can improve the human condition, enabling people to lead more satisfying and responsible lives. Professor Savulescu is at the forefront of presenting that philosophical challenge. Both Dr. Allen and Professor Savulescu extend the thread connecting all recipients over the years, giving hope that a better society can be achieved through examples such as our recipients have shown. I commend Dr. Allen and Professor Savulescu, recipients of this year's award, and invite Professor Mark Cook to now make the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. It's obviously very humbling to be awarded with this medallion. I'm very fortunate to work on a project which I find extremely rewarding. It's a wonderful collaboration between medicine, engineering, and we believe that the project has the potential to offer patients with severe visual impairment a greater degree of independence and obviously greater quality of life. I know that the patients are really buoyed by the great interest that the community has in this project, and they find that very, very positive. They find that it really helps them in relation to the commitment that they've had for the trial. I'd really firstly like to thank Dr. McNabb in his absence, Dr. Campbell and the St Michaels Council, and you, the church community, so much for honouring me in this way. I'm really very grateful, and it's lovely to be able to represent the project in this manner. Thank you.
I now invite Professor Sevulescu to come forward and receive the medallion. Thank you.
I'd also like to begin by thanking the St Michaels Church Council and congregation for this enormous honour and privilege. I'd also like to pay a special tribute to Dr. McNabb, who can't be here, so can't resist my few words of tribute. And I'd like to say three things about Dr. McNabb's work. The first is that when you hear that passage from Mark about prayer being all that you can offer for epilepsy, it's easy to think that religion is irrelevant in the day of science. We have wonderful treatments that Professor Cook's been working on. You can do surgery, you can stimulate the brain, you can give drugs. And more generally, I'll talk about the power of science, but it's easy to think that in a world where science can explain and predict virtually everything we see around us, religion has no place. But in fact, as I'll go on to argue, science is just a tool for explaining and understanding the world and ourselves. But it can never tell us what we should do or what we ought to do, how we ought to live, what's right and wrong. And that's the domain of religion, faith and ethics. And Dr. McNabb has made an enormous contribution to contributing to those fundamental questions in a time when there's an ever diminishing space for people to actually articulate ideas in that area. More importantly, science will never cure the human condition. I was due to come here much earlier in September, but I went with my wife, Miriam, to a cousin's wedding. And we were told on the day of the wedding that the groom had a stepbrother who had died the day before. And he was a young man in his early 30s, and he was skiing with friends in Thredbo. He was English, but he loved Australia. And he felt unwell one day and decided not to go out skiing with his friends. And when they came back, he was dead. And he died of an epileptic seizure. He'd hit his head, I think, in the bathroom while they were out, and there was no one to offer him any assistance. So even today, in a world of extraordinary advances, people are still dying of epilepsy. And we will always face the limitations of the human condition, and that's why the work of Dr. McNabb is so important. The second area which I'd like to touch upon is the sort of common work we do. We both look at questions about how people should live, what's good and what we should be aiming for. But I have to confess, I'm not a great churchgoer. I used to be quite a good churchgoer when I was a kid, but the last two times I've been to church was a year or so ago to get married to my wife Miriam, and about 15 years ago to give a talk here on euthanasia that Dr. McNabb invited me to give. But what's important in ethics is not just provoking people to think, it's dialogue, and it's dialogue with people who have different ideas and orientations to yourselves, different faiths or perhaps no faith at all. And I think Dr. McNabb has been a pioneer of understanding that the way forward is through dialogue and listening and talking with each other. And the third area that I'd like to congratulate Dr. McNabb on is his foresight in thinking about the modern world. There's a famous passage from Giuseppe de Lampedusa's book, The Leopard, which I read when I was about 20, so I may not get this passage exactly right. But at one point he has a character, I think it's Tancredi, say, sometimes for things to remain the same, things have to change. And it's the same with our application of our values and our concepts about what is right and wrong and good and bad in a world of rapidly advancing technology. And I think Dr. McNabb has been a leader in thinking about how not only the church, religion, but also ethics and values have to evolve in order for them to have an impact and be relevant to the decisions of today. So it's an enormous privilege for me to have this award and receive this award. It's easy to get the respect of your scientific peers. You just publish a lot of high-impact publications. It's very difficult to get the respect of your real peers, and my real peers in the work I do are you and Dr. McNabb and others working in these areas. So this is more important to me than a scientific award or an academic award because, I mean, this is what really matters. So thank you. It's a great honour.
Thank you so much. Would any previous medallion winners who are with us like to come up and congratulate the 2013 Medallion Award recipients, please? Any previous recipients, if you're with us, please come on up. And congregation, if you would please stand and congratulate the 2013 recipients one more time. Thank you. Mrs. Jenny Cheng is just coming forward.